If you could just give like a small little introduction of like who you are, what you do.
Sure. My name is Blake Morrow. I'm the president and CEO of Forex Analytics. And we have a trading community and platform that we focus predominantly on currencies, but other markets too, whether it's some cryptos, we trade equities, indices, and but mostly currencies.
Okay, so we'll jump right into it because he's obviously an expert, you guys. Okay, so what things have the Trump administration done that points to him purposely trying to weaken the US dollar?
Well, they've expressed the idea that they do want a weaker dollar. Both, and this is prior to them being inaugurated. Both J.D. Vance and Trump have talked about wanting to have a weaker dollar, which makes sense. It makes sense because they want to strengthen the U.S. manufacturing base. I just don't know if they're going to be. They really have to thread the needle carefully because the policies they want to enact are not necessarily dollar negative; they're dollar positive. So it's going to be interesting. But if you go back to the original Trump term, his first term, I believe it was February or March of 2017. He specifically said, "I think the dollar's too strong," and the dollar started to weaken precipitously after that, just based on his wants of it. So as currency traders, we all still remember that from 2017. So we have to be at least respectful that if they do want to coordinate and figure out how they can weaken the dollar, that they are very capable of doing so.
Okay, gotcha. And do you think that Trump is trying to be a leader in crypto so that he can combat the weakening of the US dollar?
I do believe that that the Trump administration wants to support crypto. They want to. They're very pro crypto. Who they brought in to oversee like the crypto environment is very pro crypto. And is it to combat a potentially weaker dollar? I think it's actually more of how they're going to eventually incorporate some crypto investments into a, whether it's a sovereign wealth fund that he just announced last week. If he wants to bring some crypto investments in that, I'm not entirely too sure. But I know if I was a crypto investor, which I am, but if I was like somebody who's enthusiastic about it, I think at least the next several years is going to be positive. So it's going to be good for the environment as a whole.
Okay. I agree with you on that one too. Which currency, if any, do you feel is in close competition with the US dollar?
That's a good question. Is there a currency that's in close competition? I think the answer to that I would say is no at this point in time. The reason why is the depth that we have in our fixed income market and in the treasury market. There is going to be more treasury issuance moving forward. Treasury Secretary Bessent has already talked about it. And he's got a huge undertaking over the next couple of years on how he's going to sell more U.S. debt. Mm-hmm. And so is it going to have a negative impact on the dollar? I'm assuming it will. But is there really another currency right now that could, take the helm of the U.S. dollar? And the answer to that question, in my opinion, is no. Do I think that the dollar will weaken against other currencies over the next several years? Yeah, I do actually think that it's already happening, and you're going to see dollar reserves slowly dwindling over time. Whether it's like you have a country like China who says, oh, instead of holding 56% in dollar reserves, we're going to eventually get to a point where we're only holding 52%. I think those trends are intact and they're not changing. So, but is there another currency to rival the US dollar at this point for like a reserve currency? I don't think so. Not at this moment.
Okay. And my last question is, what do you think the dynamics in the FX market will be like if the US dollar continues to lose its value?
I think it's going to be more volatile. And that's a great thing for people like me that I trade the markets on a daily basis. If the dollar continues to lose value, I think it's a great opportunity. And I actually think that the next few years The Trump administration has been very, adamant about wanting the dollar to weaken. So let it. I mean, that means, we can buy some euros, we can buy some Australian dollars, and even sterling. I think pound sterling is a great opportunity to be on the long side. So I think the opportunities for investors is tremendous. And it's not like we're going into uncharted territory. Don't forget that, it was, before the European crisis and even before like 2007, 2008, the euro was trading north of 150. And now it's, just above parity. It's $1.05. So even if the dollar weakens from here, and let's say the euro goes to 120 over the course of the next couple of years, it's not doing anything that it hasn't done historically. So I think it's just great opportunities for investors and traders all around the world.
I agree with you on that one. And thank you so much for taking the time to do this. And
my pleasure.
You guys, this is my very first person, so yes.